Welcome back to another day of the 12-day of Burnout Breakthrough with Kathie's Coaching Podcast. These episodes will be run on my podcast on the YouTube channel. And today I want to introduce you to one of my friends and colleagues. His name is Nick, and I have known Nick for several years, and we met through reality transurfing concepts. He has really helped me deal with some anxiety, some stress, and I'm hoping today it's going to provide you, like he did with me, a quick win. So before we get started and get into this episode, I want to let Nick introduce himself to you and kind of say a little bit about what he does and how he helps people.
Well, thank you, Kathie, and thank you for having me here. I'm going to just talk a little bit about my past. I'm a licensed clinical counselor. I've done hypnosis. I've had a private practice. I've worked in schools. And I've also trained other counselors in various counseling techniques and stuff. I really appreciate you having me here. And I'm looking forward to getting in on this. And hopefully you give people some practical, useful tips to get them through the holiday season.
Awesome. All right. So, Nick, very first thing, let's talk about how to deal with burnout and maybe even describe what it is, because we all have different words for burnout. All of the interviews I've had have had different aspects of burnout and how we work with it. And I'm going to turn it over to you and we'll let you help us get a quick win with burnout breakthrough.
Okay. Well, one of the big things, especially during the holiday season, is there's lots going on. So people get burned out because it's like too much and you have a hard time keeping things in place. And what I say is the number one thing you need to keep in mind and you want to do is to keep yourself vibrant and healthy during the holidays. And I know that sometimes it's tough with going out to dinner, parties, all that, but ultimately you need to take care of you. And by taking care of yourself, you'll be able to help family members, friends, and everybody else. If you don't do that, you're going to be stressed and the people around you will be able to read that and know that also. The two big things that happen for people is usually it's stress and anxiety. And we kind of lump them together for this particular issue for the holidays here, because if people are feeling a lot of anxiety about, and I'll just give some examples. Let's say having to be at a family gathering and there's people there that you probably don't want to see or don't want to be with. Let's say you have so much to do that you don't think you're going to be able to accomplish it all. The other things that go on is people don't take care of themselves. You have all this wonderful Christmas cookies, treats, and everything, and people feel that they're obligated to eat it. So once again, the big thing is to keep yourself healthy and kind of modulate your days so you can accomplish what you need to accomplish and do what you need to do, go where you need to go. But the other thing is too, is you have to sometimes prioritize things. One of the things I always suggest for people to do is to, in the morning, before they walk out the door or go anyplace, is you make your list of 5 to-dos. And those to-dos are the things that have to get done. Now, you might have 10 of them, but you write 5. You can write the other 5 that if you get them done, it'll be nice. But if it doesn't get done, no big problem. So one of the things I'm saying is you need to scheduleize yourself so you're not trying to do too much in the amount of time that you have. And it's difficult when people are working and have social events to be at. And then you also have those crises that come up in the middle of it. The store is out of what you want. Somebody bangs into your bumper, things like that. Like all of a sudden it was not on the schedule, but you still have to deal with it. One of the things I'm saying is your 5 wins of the day, you do that, but you do it before you leave the house. And I have like a little calendar type of thing, and I'll just kind of show it to you. And it's a day calendar, and I just rip off a sheet of paper every day, and I have my 5 wins that I'm going to do. Now, some days I might only get 2 done because those other events have happened in life, but I have my schedule for 5. Sometimes I bring them on to the next day, and sometimes not. Sometimes I have a new 5. But like this morning's for me was to walk, and I do a 4-mile walk in the morning. And the second one was to go to the gym. So those 2 have been checked off my list, and you're number 3. So anyways, as we get a little bit later on in the podcast here, we're going to get to some quick techniques to help you with stress and anxiety. And back over to you, Kathie.
So I've talked about this before on my channel, how you have a list of things we need to do in a day and checking those off. And even if you're going to meet a friend for dinner, that can be one of your 5 things that Nick is talking about. What happens when you check those things off is it gets good brain chemicals going and tells yourself that you accomplished something. And it's like a quick win, and it helps you feel better. And as we've been talking about during these 12 days of burnout, all of these techniques help you to feel better about your day, to feel better about yourself, to feel better in your physical body. And those are the quick wins that we're looking for. So Nick gave us a really good quick win. But here's one thing I really want to touch on, because Nick has coached me before with tapping. And these tapping processes are so simple. We talked about it before on my channel with some other guests that talked about how they use tapping, but we didn't go into specific details. And I would love for Nick to explain to us what tapping is and why it helps, and maybe give us a brief quick win on a tapping technique we can do, because there's so many things you can Google. You can even YouTube search tapping and learn these. But I can tell you from my personal experience that tapping, I had really bad anxiety, and I had a very rapid transformation where the anxiety was quickly gone by working with Nick. So Nick, I'll turn it over to you.
Well, thank you, Kathie. It's something I've been doing since, I think, the early 90s. And when we say the tapping techniques, there's 2 major schools of thought out there. And I'll talk a little bit about each one. And fortunately, I have studied with both of these gentlemen, so I know what the difference is. The tapping techniques are, you're tapping on various parts of your body. And the question is, what does it do? And the idea was discovered by using the meridians, which is probably, you're familiar with that from acupuncture. And the places that these people discovered was, well, you don't have to inject yourself with needles. You can just tap to kind of open up or the meridian or the electrical highway you have in your body. And there were certain sequences, or lack of better words, recipes that you can use to do various things. You can get rid of phobias with them. You can treat depression with them. You can treat anxiety with it. So there's a plethora of things that you're able to do with using these tapping methodologies. The 2 tapping methodologies, the major ones that are out there, are one's called thought field therapy, and it was discovered or put together by a man named Roger Callahan. He has since passed, but his wife's still doing trainings and is out there and is available for the thought field therapy or the TFT. The other person studied with Dr. Callahan and came up with his own version of it. And he calls his EFT, Emotional Freedom Technique. And what I always kind of liken it to or compare it to, it's kind of like Drano. It's kind of like an emotional Drano. You know, when you have your pipe and all of a sudden, you know, the water's not going down, put the Drano in, let it sit for a while, and then rinse it out, and it kind of clears it out. Well, what the tapping does kind of clears out the meridians and also your thoughts about whatever the particular problem is. And in the hands of a skilled practitioner, they're able to kind of zero in on what you need at those particular moments and help you through the process. There's a plethora of other versions of this tapping routine, but I say if you stick with the EFT or the TFT, the thought field therapy or the emotional freedom technique, you have a good essence of what it is, what it can do. I know there's a bunch of videos about various practitioners doing it for various things online on YouTube. And to me, when I was in private practice, this was my first go-to when a client came in with a problem. And I used to treat a lot of phobias, and I used to treat a lot of people with smoking cessation. And what I always used to do was, if you came in and wanted to quit smoking, I'd say, quit smoking before you come in, because I want to see you with the urge or craving up high. Now, lots of times people will say, well, hold it, I'm coming to you to quit smoking. Why would I quit before I come in? And I'm saying, because you're paying me a lot of money and you want to make sure it works. So what I used to do is when they used to come in, and I used to say, make sure when you come in that you're craving a cigarette, that, you want to pull off the door and go find a package of Winston's or something. In other words, we want you up high because when we're treating you, we want to be able to know that we can eliminate the urge or craving for the cigarette. And once we've done that, I used to follow it up with a brief hypnosis session, because I also used to do hypnosis at the time. When a person came in with a phobia, usually what would happen is I'd usually get the phone call like a day or two before they had to do something, meaning they had to go fly someplace and they had a fear of flying phobia. Or one time I had a person that had to take a test that their job depended on, and they've already, I think they already flunked it once. So they wanted to come in to have the hypnosis to kind of be relaxed and confident that they would be able to pass the test. And so what used to happen was all of a sudden I got these appointments and it's like, okay, how soon can you get in here? And the smokers, like I told you, would take care of the urge of craving as soon as they came in, and then would talk about what the difficult times were when they needed to have a cigarette. For smokers, that first one in the morning is very important for them because that's the longest time they've been without nicotine, and they want to have that first one. Some people, it's when they're socializing. For other people, it's like after meals or when they're talking on the phone. So we used to take care of all that in the hypnosis part of the session. But we also gave them the tools so they could take care of their own urges and cravings if or as they came up.
Wow. I can tell you from experience that the tapping really, really helps. And as we've talked with previous guests, what happens when you're doing tapping? What happens is you recognize the emotion that you're feeling. You're not suppressing it. So you're realizing that that emotion is there. But like Nick said, it's Drano. It's helping us get rid of all the clogged that's going on around that emotion. So you're accepting the emotion at the same time you're cleaning it out.
I use the word releasing. And I remember when we had this session and you said, well, I says, oh, there it is. And you said, well, how'd you know that? Because I looked at you and I could see the breath of you releasing that particular issue we were dealing with.
Exactly. That's exactly what happened. I just released it and he did recognize it. And I was like, how did you know? Or when did it come through? And it was when I took a deep breath and I released it. And I could tell you with everything that it worked tremendously. But I do have a question for you, Nick, because I noticed that that afternoon I was physically exhausted. But then when I went to bed that night, I slept like a rock. Do you have an explanation for why I was so tired after that?
Well, and this is just pure guess on my part, but usually what it is, up to that point, you had a lot of stress going on. And all of a sudden, we released it. And I think that's your body's way of kind of catching up with the fatigue and stuff of you being tight and stressful and allowing it to let go. And like you said, you slept comfortably in the evening. And usually, and I tell this to people too, when I do these sessions with people, I get benefits from it also.
What
helps
what
relax
benefits
me.
do you get? Oh, it does?
Yeah, it relaxes me. And once again, the method's so simple. You can do it and you can do it anytime, And what I always tell people is, and I used to tell my clients this too, you don't need to have me there. Here, I used to give them an instruction sheet with step-by-step details on what to do. And I says, and you can do this for yourself. I mean, ultimately, you want to be able to take care of yourself. Yes, we go to the doctors when we're not feeling well and stuff, but ultimately we want the body's immune system to take over and to kind of get us back in balance. And the same thing with emotional issues or stress issues. We want to get the body back in balance. And that's what we can do with the tapping.
Wow. That is it. That's it right there in a nutshell. So if you've listened to all the episodes, they all go back to balance and getting in touch with your body and feeling that, and then releasing those emotions. And then also that's releasing that stress. And that's where I think he's right, where I was exhausted because I had just been feeling that for so long. That's burnout. It's just going to happen if you don't release it. So that was your quick win for today. I really appreciate your time, Nick, and thank you so much for coming on here. And I can guarantee you helped many just by sharing this with us today. Do you have anything else you'd like to share with us before I close out?
Well, if anybody wants a session with me, right now I'm doing coaching sessions approximately an hour long, and the cost is $66. And they can get in touch with you, Kathie, and you'll let me know, and we'll set it up on a Zoom type thing, and we'll meet and we'll work through an issue that you have. And once again, a lot of this doesn't take that long. I know occasionally when I talk to people, they say, oh, well, I've tried tapping and it didn't work. Usually those particular cases is either that practitioner didn't know what to do when a person had certain blockages or a reversal or things like that. So they weren't able to bring them along. But what I say is, it doesn't take too long. And if we can help a person, I'll be happy to do that. And if before we leave, if you want to try something quick with me, I have maybe 2 little techniques that might be able to help your audience out.
Perfect. Go ahead, share it.
Right? And one is, I'll just give a little background on it. One is I was doing the tapping techniques or the EFT, the TFT, and I was working with school children, and that the school children were from the age of 5 to about 9 or 10. And what I found out was sometimes it was difficult to get them to do all the techniques together in the right sequence. So what I did was I came up with a simple method for children to kind of get themselves back in balance, get themselves back into the classroom and whatever the issue was that was going on. And I once had to try it with one of my adult clients who had just problems following instructions. I'm saying, why don't I try the one that I do with the kids? And sure enough, it worked, and it worked very, very well. And if your audience wants to try this, they can try it with us, Kathie. And I usually do a couple things first. I'm going to ask you, think about something you have anxiety about, and that can be anything. And on a scale of 0, meaning no anxiety, 10, meaning lots of anxiety, wherever you're at, you may want to write it down on a piece of paper or keep it in mind. And usually what I say is we're going to do a keyword. So for this, we'll just say holiday season or holiday stress. And this is just a modified version of the tapping techniques that I do. And if you keep in mind an anxiety, and also kind of catalog it, where is it in your body? For a lot of people, they feel it in their stomach. Other people feel it in their chest areas. Some people say they feel it in their foreheads. So, but where is yours? The viewer of this video have theirs, and keep that in mind. And what we're going to do is we're going to just try a technique, and it's called a quick nick. And when I developed this for children, I had a friend of mine, I was demonstrating it to him, and he says, wow, what a great technique. We'll have to call it the quick nick. And so it's kind of stuck, and we've done it ever since. And then if we still have time, Kathie, we'll have one more quick thing that people can do, and they can do it in the grocery store. They can do it at their Walmart, wherever they need it, or they could do it at that anxiety-ridden Christmas event that they have to go to. But first, let's do the anxiety for holiday stress. And if you can take and just put your palms up towards the ceiling and think about where that stress is in your body, whether it's shoulders, stomach, forehead, or any other part. And what we're going to do is just tap like this and think holiday stress, holiday stress, holiday stress. Great. And then take 2 fingers on each hand and tap directly underneath your eyes. Holiday stress, holiday stress, holiday stress. 3, we're going to go underneath the arms. And there's 2 ways you can do this. You can do it like this, holiday stress, or sometimes people like to cross their hands across and do it like this. I don't know whether you can see that. There we go. Yeah. And last one is upper chest area. Holiday stress with the full hands. Holiday stress, holiday stress. Take a deep breath and release. And that's the quick nick. And the other technique I was going to share with you today was something called box breathing. And this is the ones that the Navy SEALs use and stuff. There's various versions of it, and you can look it up on the internet. I choose a real simple version that I give to people to when they find themselves in those stressful situations and there's not a place to do any of them. In other words, you don't want to be in the middle of a Christmas party tapping. So you might want to do this. And all it is it helps bring you back to yourself. And it's just called box breathing. And I'll explain it to you. It's breathing in 4, holding 4, letting out 4. And we'll just try it right now. And it's something you do. And what I say is you do it probably a minimum of 3 and then decide whether you need to do it more or is it time to let it go. And then you can do it again later if you have to. So let me try this with you, Kathie. Okay. Inhale. 1, 2, 3, 4. Hold it. 2, 3, 4. Exhale. 2, 3, 4. Inhale. 2, 3, 4. Hold it. 2, 3, 4. Exhale. 2, 3, 4. One more time. Inhale. 2, 3, 4. Hold it. 2, 3, 4. Exhale. 2, 3, 4. And make a choice now whether you want to continue doing it or you just want to let it go because you're back centered again and, for lack of better words, in balance.
I don't know about y'all, but I feel fantastic right now. I wasn't under anxiety before, but I was having a little bit of a headache when Nick started, and it's gone now. It's gone.
Yeah.
I like it called the Quick Nick, and we could even add the Quick Saint Nick because it's holiday season.
There you go.
Yeah, but I will always remember that, the Quick Nick. And the thing is, with each of these episodes, I have a blog post that goes with it. And inside that blog post will be bonus tips of how we talked today, the things that we talked about, where you can actually read them. You can also watch the video again there. You can listen to the podcast episode there, but you'll have more resources to add little bonus tips. But I'm going to close out this episode today. I trust that you found it helpful. If you know somebody who could benefit from this, please share it with them. And until next time, we'll see you next time. Peace out and namaste.